Hi there, I'm Chef Lauren Smith, and this is Conscious Culinary, where we show you how to cook with ingredients that really support health and wellness. And I'm really excited to be here today in Scottsdale at Natural Partners at our Wellness Cafe. This is the place where the magic happens around Natural Partners, and we have some great cooking equipment already. So I'm going to make our little comfort food recipe right here today. We're going to make a beautiful ginger snap. It's one of those comfort foods that we all know and love, except this one is gluten-free and vegan, very low in sugar, and it's also very bone health promoting as it's really high in calcium. And that's what we're looking at this month, is preventing osteoporosis. So we're adding a couple ingredients that are on like the top 10 list for calcium, like salba or chia seeds and a blackstrap molasses. It's a really simple recipe, not as complicated as you think it's gonna be. And I wanna show you guys this one because I know you're gonna love it, so stay tuned. So we're going to get started out by just mixing our dry ingredients first. Just grab yourself a large mixing bowl and get your oven on about 375 degrees. So what I'm going to start with is a cup of a really nice quality coconut sugar. Now, it's almost the same thing as a palm sugar. You just want a dark sugar, so whatever works best for you. Now, classically, this would be a brown sugar, but it's really refined. They add a poor quality molasses to it, and there's a bunch of stuff in it that we just don't want in our bodies, right? So I'm gonna use a cup of nice quality coconut sugar. And on top of that, I have another cup of a tapioca flour, great gluten-free flour. And then I have a half a cup of a potato flour, and then a half a cup of a potato starch. So there's two very different things. The starch is very soft and almost like cornstarch, and the flour is very dense. Then on top of that, I have a teaspoon and a half of a baking powder, and then 1 teaspoon of fresh ground cinnamon, another teaspoon of fresh ground ginger, and 1/4 teaspoon of a ground clove. That's really what adds that color and kick to ginger snaps. So I'm just gonna add them into my bowl. Oh, and the other thing is there's 1/4 teaspoon of a really nice quality sea salt. So I'm just gonna give this a stir with a whisk just to make sure all the dry ingredients get incorporated. And it'll turn into this kind of sandy colored powder. Okay, that's good enough. What we're just making sure of is that no one gets like a gigantic bite of ginger or cloves in their cookie. And then we're gonna start out with the wet ingredients. So as an egg substitute, because we're going vegan on this, we're gonna do a large tablespoon of ground salba seed, which is basically chia. And if you don't have that, you can use ground flax. It has that kind of viscous, mucousy property when it gets wet and serves as an excellent binder for an egg replacement. And then to that, we're gonna add a nice healthy tablespoon of a coconut butter. This is a great replacement for butter in baking. Totally vegan, and it has a beautiful taste to it. And then the next thing we're gonna add is 3/4 cups of a really good quality oil. Now I have half safflower oil and half first press extra virgin olive oil, but you could use whatever works best for you. And then the last thing, the most important part, is the blackstrap molasses. Now this surprisingly has amazing calcium qualities. So naturally, a ginger snap is an excellent thing for bone health. Go figure. So I just want to get all of that molasses that I can. This is really what adds that caramely intensity to ginger snaps. And then we just have to mix it up until it's really well incorporated. And we're gonna transfer the dough into a plastic bag so we can pipe it out onto a baking sheet and then bake off our little cookies. So once your mix is nice and incorporated, I'm just gonna transfer it into a plastic bag. Just take a sandwich baggie and fold the edges over. You can use a bigger one too. I'm just gonna take a spatula and kinda scoop it right on in. So to seal up the bag, and I'm gonna try to press all the air out that I can. And we're gonna kind of pastry bag style this. So what I want is one corner exposed so I can pipe it. I'm just gonna take a little knife and slice a small hole. And I'm gonna grab myself a baking sheet, and I line this one with tin foil. Now again, you could use a silpat, parchment paper, anything along those lines. We just don't want these cookies sticking. With tin foil, you do want to be careful though that they don't burn. And just to pipe these out, you start at the top, put the pressure down, squeeze, and stop squeezing towards the last couple seconds. So squeeze, stop squeezing, and pull away. Squeeze, stop squeezing, and pull away. So I'm just gonna keep doing this until all my dough is used up. Okay, so I piped out about as much of the dough as I had. Now, like I said, I'm gonna pop these into my 375-degree oven. We're gonna go about 12 to 15 minutes. Like I said, you wanna be careful because they're on tin foil that they don't burn on the edges. Once you kind of start smelling that nutty, molassesy flavor, it's like usually ready to go. And they need about 5 minutes on a rack, one like this, a cookie rack, whatever you have. Just transfer them right off the tin foil, take the tin foil up onto the rack, let them cool those 5 minutes. You can also pop them in the fridge and they'll be good to go. So we're just gonna put these in the oven. So this is what they look like, our beautiful little gluten-free vegan ginger snaps. Like I said, I had them in my 375-degree oven for about 12 to 15 minutes just till they really got that caramelized molassesy smell. I let them cool on a rack for about 5 minutes and I just plattered them up on my little tray here, and I topped them off with a little bit of a sprinkle of a nice xylitol crystal. It's another natural sweetener that's not gonna really get you in trouble. Traditionally, you would roll them in powdered sugar to get that crackly look on them, but why do it if you don't need it, right? I'm just gonna enjoy them with a nice cold glass of almond milk, go all the way vegan here. So again, this is a really simple recipe and an awesome one to have in your culinary toolkit because it's a recipe you can use all times a year, and it's one of my favorite comfort foods. And on top of that, with the blackstrap molasses and the chia or salba seeds, they're super high in calcium, so really supporting that fight against osteoporosis and really promoting bone health. So it's been my pleasure to show you guys this recipe from the beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona here at the Natural Partners Wellness Center. And we'll see you next time on Comfort Food with a Conscience.